Welcome back to Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. I was just wondering what you were reading.
She looks a little downcast after my reaction to seeing her, and my singing, I imagine. Giving up on the prospect of getting any more work done, I get up and return the book to its place on near my shelf. Just an English textbook.
Has it helped?
It helped me realize that I don't like English. Yeah. Just like, but you're speaking English now. It's like, yeah, but that's because the person that's playing this is in English. It's like, but here's the twist here. This freaking visual novel was originally made in English. There are no other freaking full translations in our languages. I mean, apparently the demo version has in a few different languages, but the full version only seems to be in English. So there, Hisao, you speak English the whole time, you lying asshat. Hanako gives a small giggle. I may muse on the strange state of our friendship, but I do know that such little gestures are things that I wouldn't see were I not at least some distance close to her than when we first met. I look at her for a moment, thinking about what I do and don't know. Wait, what I do and don't know about her. It's a slightly depressing topic.
Is something wrong?
If I want to know more about her, maybe I should stop being so evasive about it. Talking with Lily as an equal rather than being constantly in fear of causing her to become upset worked fine, so I should just try a straightforward approach with Hanako as well. Hey, Hanako, do you mind if I ask you a question?
I don't mind.
I want to know what your life was like. Your life before coming to Yamaku. She hesitates. I briefly consider backing off, but she seems to be taking the question quite seriously. I sit and watch her, silently letting her take her time. She's not making eye contact with me, and looks almost as if she's arguing with herself into letting herself open up to me more. Her answer finally comes in a stiff, almost reluctant nod. She looks far more tense than she did before I'd asked.
Okay, but in return, you have to tell me about your life as well.
I nod and follow her as she begins to walk out the library so we can talk. By now, most of the students have already left the main building, so apart from a few people hovering around club rooms, the hallways are largely empty. I guess we'll start with coming to Yamaku. Let's see, I was in the hospital when my parents first told me about Yamaku Academy. The doctors told me I shouldn't go to my old school anymore. My parents agreed and persuaded me to apply for Yamaku, even though it would mean living away from them for the first time.
It must have been hard for you.
Well, yeah, I have to admit that it was. My parents both work long hours and full time, so having to live reasonably independently wasn't anything new to me. It's the fact that I was going to a school for disabled students that hit hardest, I think. You? A small group of chatting girls passed us as we neared the stairs, with Hanako pressing herself tightly to my side until we reached the ground floor. She doesn't usually come this close while just walking into school, so I'm left a little put off.
The staff at the orphanage offered me some options on what I could do. Middle school hadn't been good, so I thought that Yamaku might be better. It was isolated, and I thought it might be easier to get by here with most of the others being disabled.
It's pretty ironic that the reasons Hanako looked forward to Yamaku are the exact reasons I hated the idea. To me, it felt like I was being shunted somewhere away from society and everyone I knew. To Hanako, that was probably an inviting prospect. What was life like at the orphanage?
It was okay. The staff there were nice, and they took care of us. The children there didn't talk to me much, but I didn't really want to talk to them either, so I didn't mind. The orphanage had a little library, so I started to read to pass time. The staff didn't mind it, because it made me easier to handle than many of the other children.
You didn't make any friends there?
No, I think my life was on hold during that time. I knew that, but I didn't mind.
To think your life was on hold for all that time, though. Depending on when the fire happened, there was a huge chunk of her life. No parents, no friends, apparently no relatives. We walk through the door into the courtyard. I expect to need to avert my eyes from the sun, but by now it's well into sunset. Hanako's eyes keep flicking to me, so I look away from her for a bit.
What was it like in the hospital?
I quickly clear my thoughts and try to refocus them. I hesitate for a bit, but I know that I have to tell her. We're close enough for her to feel comfortable telling me this, so it's only fair that whatever. It was okay at times, but at others it was pretty bad. At the beginning, everyone sent their sympathies and came to visit often. It was just like breaking an arm or something. Meeting all my friends was one of the good times. Hanako came in often as well, more often than anyone else. But there were bad times too. When my friends slowly stopped visiting, I began to realize how grave my situation was. It reminded me that this wasn't just a broken limb, but that I was now a different person than before. Even the times that Hanako would spend with me became torturous. By the end, we were reduced to silence, whereas before she'd be talking constantly. But that's how Hanako always was. She may have been a fragile person, but she would talk constantly to try and hide that fact. Not about anything in particular, just talk. I think the three lowest points would have been when my parents told me I wouldn't be going to my old school anymore, my birthday passing while in hospital, and when Hanako left for the last stop. We leave the school buildings behind us as we begin to follow the main path through the gardens. There may have been the odd bystander in the school buildings, but outside we're practically alone.
What was your middle school like?
I liked it. I grew up in a really metropolitan area, and the middle school was nearby, so it was pretty crowded. I didn't mind it, probably because I'm used to being in crowds and around lots of other people. And for that exact same reason was why I ended up getting taught at home. It's just like too many people, it was like big buildings, just like for someone with social anxiety, that's hell, that is. I don't understand how people can freaking deal with that shit. Just too many people. I got good marks and I played soccer with my friends. I spent a fair bit of time hanging out with them after school as well. Did get teased a bit over my hair though. Was it the whole apple thing?
Your hair?
I grimaced a little as I put a hand over my hair to cover it. I'd keep getting tufts and strands that refused to flatten or stay where I wanted them. My mother wouldn't let me just get my hair shaved. It had a habit of popping out no matter how much I tried to brush it down. And it made me look like an apple.
It still does a little.
I was worried I'd get that reply.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I give a mild laugh and wave it off. It's fine, I know it still does. Feels strange to have someone act so interested in my past. If it were anyone else, I'd think they were just acting polite. But there's something I really don't think Hanako would do. Or if she did, she'd do it so badly that it would be obvious. There are a number of girls in the common room on the ground floor, and you can see where this scene will inevitably lead. And Hanako presses herself to my side once more as we pass them. I expect her to break off, but instead she continues to cling on to me as we walk towards the stairway. Something about the way she's holding on to me feels different from the usual. I am left deep in thought as we walk up the stairs and down the hallway. It's only when we stop that I look up and realize that I've been following her without question. Why did we come to your dormitory room? She looks straight at the door without so much as a glance in my direction. Hanako? She moves to answer but stops herself. Instead, she silently breaks from my side, opens her door, and steps inside. I look up and down the hallway, a bit lost as to exactly what I should do. Shrugging, I decide to follow her since I don't have any reason to do otherwise. Hanako stands in the middle of her room and looks straight at me. It's unnerving when she does this, as it's such an unusual action for her. I open my mouth to speak, but she preempts me.
Could you close and lock the door?
Hanako's hands reaches for her chest, grabbing her blouse at her heart. Of course, but it does have more meaning than just going into one of those scenes, as we're about to find out. I turn and lock the door shut, then freeze. The atmosphere is beginning to feel quite strange. This feeling is only made more profound when I hear the curtains being pulled behind me. It's going to be night soon. We're a guy and a girl in a bedroom. She's closing the curtains and I'm shutting and locking the door. She can't really have that in mind, can she? I gulp and turn around very, very slowly. Hanako is in the center of the room, but hasn't turned back to face me. You know, I mean, it is going to lead into one of those scenes, but just one thing that always bugs me about them is they never it's all spur of the moment kind of thing. They don't use protection and all that, and they just like casually go about it. I mean, what the fuck? I don't know, it just bugs me. The scenes in general just bug me anyway, because they usually feel completely out of nowhere. I mean, Amy's right at like freaking 3 of those, and like, well, the first and the third one seemed like, yeah, fair enough. But the second one in the freaking gym thing or whatever, that one was completely out of nowhere, you know? It's just like, I don't know, it just bugs me.
You told me about your past, so I have to tell you mine.
She takes a deep, shuddering breath and pauses for a number of seconds. Her hands move to a ribbon and begin to tug, all but confirming my thoughts. There's a bit more to it than simply just being one of those scenes. It just actually has quite a bit of plot relevance. Hanako.
Please, don't say anything.
I obediently stay hushed as she slips off her ribbon and continues to unbutton her blouse before working the clip on her bra. The process is slow. Perhaps it just feels slow because of what she's doing. I'm not sure. Frozen to the spot, all I can do is watch as Hanako, hands trembling, unclips her skirt and lets it drop to the ground. Finally, she takes the blouse in her hands and draws it off, her bra falling from her shoulders. And so, Hanako stands in the middle of the room, all but bared, save for her stockings and underwear.
This is me. All of me.
Why did you zoom in right on the ass? Straight away, is this Final Fantasy? No, never mind. Just serious scene here. My eyes are immediately drawn to the scarring on her back. The skin on her right side is of a similar texture to that of her face, but it's also stretched taut and covering a much larger area. The scarring is by far the worst on the shoulder, buttock, and thigh. Just as my heart attack redefined my life, this is the event that redefined Hanako's. If I'd seen this when I first met her, I'd have been shocked, not only at the sight, but also at the idea that something like this was survivable. But after having had time to get used to the idea, and after seeing the scars on her face, hands, and collar, my reaction is more measured. My reaction right now is not due to her scarring, but to her body.
The fire happened when I was 8 years old. It was night, and we were sleeping when it started.
Hanako's voice trembles, the shaking of her blouse giving away the fact that her hands are doing just the same.
I curled up into a ball, and the fire swept over me. My mother tried to shield me. It's the only reason I lived.
Hanako's eyes begin to moisten, her voice cracking under the combined pressure of exposing herself to me like this, and reliving those painful memories from so long ago. Yeah, very fitting then. This track, like, the characters don't have their own themes or anything, but I feel that if they did, this would be her theme. Because it even says it right, you know, painful history. I want to say something, anything, to make her feel better. I can't, though. I feel completely useless when faced with a situation like this. She's forcing herself to come so close, yet it's at times like this that I feel most distant to her.
I'm sorry for making you see this.
There's no point in denying the obvious. I think what I should say now, and what Hanako wants me to say now, is the truth. What I genuinely, honestly believe. It doesn't matter. You're a wonderful person, Hanako. Your body doesn't change that. She looks at me for a long time, her breathing uneven as she tries to remain steady amidst the emotions we're both feeling. It feels less like she's looking at me than she's looking through me. I slowly walk towards her and gently place my hands on her shoulders as she lets go of her blouse. She gasps a little, not in fright, but in simple startlement. Being so close to her caused my mind to become a jumble of feelings. The scarring on her shoulder, plain to see and lever-like to the touch, conflicts strangely with her hollow eyes, soft skin, and silky dark hair. Hanako is a girl with all that entails. She's taller than usual for a woman. but still has curves in all the right places. The nape of her neck, just visible thanks to her hair slung over her shoulder, is alluring.
I know that I'm not pretty like Lily. I just wanted you to see me, the real me.
I've already seen the real you, though. You didn't need to take off your clothes for that. Well, you're gonna have to have the camera angle slightly adjusted. Well, camera angle? The freaking, well, you get the idea. Recording, laughter, like, whatever. Anyway, her lips are open just, actually the scarring, it is on the back and the arm and all that, but it's not really on the front though much, like barely any bit of scarring there. But anyways, her lips are open just a little. She lets out a sharp breath as, without thinking, I breathlessly lean forwards and press my lips to hers. The kiss only lasts for a fleeting moment before our faces part. While breathing quick and nervous, the feeling of Hanako's mouth lingers and her eyes remain locked to mine. Trembling a little myself, I remove my tie and begin undoing the buttons of my shirt. Hanako remains standing where she is, looking at the ground in front of her rather than watching me undress. It's like, these type of scenes feel awkward to read, and half the time there's not really much to read other than, I don't know. Well, I'll keep frigging recording. Well, I'll record throughout the whole thing and just edit it out and all that, but we'll see how far this goes into the scene where, where it still has plot. Rather than, and then he did this and that, and he was like, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting tang, what about that? No. You get the idea. When it goes into that, then definitely just go to edit it. On the one hand, I'm thankful for that. I've always been somewhat self-conscious of my body, but my scarring has made that quite a lot worse. On the other, though, this atmosphere feels very strange. My shirt falls to the floor in a heap, as untidy and crumpled as Hanako's blouse and skirt. Hanako's entire body visibly flinches at the sound of the zipper on my trousers being pulled down. My trousers join my shirt on Hanako's floor next to the bed, as do my socks in short measure. I hesitate before taking off my boxers and end up leaving them on. They represent one last hurdle I don't think I can overcome quite yet. Sheer embarrassment stops me, along with not wanting Hanako getting even more worked up. My unease about the situation has also left me needing my own, stimulation? Hanako. She gives a nod without so much. I should have read that a different way, voiced it a different way. He's just like, Hanako, yeah, it's just like, yeah, that's how his voice sounded at the time. She gives a nod without so much as glance at me and makes her way to the bed as I do. She walks as if her legs were wooden sticks. You've been on a treadmill? Because that happens to me a lot. I'd find it amusing if I weren't doing exactly the same thing. I take the initiative, turning around and sitting on the side of the bed. I look to her face to invite her to take a seat either next to me or in front of me, but end up awkwardly looking down to stop myself from staring at her body. Nevertheless, she takes her cue and reluctantly sits between my legs as she does. A rush of sensations hit me all at once. Now, obviously, I'm going to, have, the, how do you describe it? The video screen will probably be up here instead of, showing the whole thing. So you might see just like Hisao's face. It's just like, what's he doing there? Well, he's copping the feel, that's what he's doing, if you really wanted to know. The feeling of her behind against. I'm not gonna read that. Jeez, no, I'm not gonna read that either. Try to put on a smile to try and make the situation a bit more comfortable for her, but it feels really stilted. Like these scenes are really awkward and stuff. Deciding to try. I mean, really, this scene could have been off screens, like entirely. Like the build up to it, fair enough, but then cut to after it, which I tend to usually do, to be fair. But I mean, like, when I think of like visual novels that pull off the whole thing without it being, having to have these scenes, I think of Clannad. I mean, like, in Clannad After Story, well, spoiler, I suppose, ish, is that there is one of those scenes, except it's not, because it's completely off-screen. It's just heavily implied, and then, like, just whatever, and it doesn't show anything. That makes it seem much more, I don't know. But anyways, anything here? First, start little girl, she tries unsuccessfully to press the squeal of surprise at the action. Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. He's talking in an exact way in the scene. Hanako takes a breath and shakes her head as her only reply. A gulp comes from deep in my throat before beginning to move my hand around, feeling and massaging her breast, her nipple. Seriously, man, reading this. Seriously, I'm just going to like skip through this and see if there's any like, extra dialogue or anything, because it feels like it's just kind of typical kind of, yes, they are doing their own thing here. No, character development or anything, just stuff out. A certain amount of reluctance for a pouch, she slides back and lies down with her head on the pillow, breathing heavily all the while. That is a lot of scarring on the arm, though. But, it's no real... Wait, nope, they're just having an awkward moment, that's all. Nothing to say here. And then after a couple of seconds it ends. The sound of Hanako's breathing my own rings in my ears, almost painfully loudly. Hanako holds an arm over her face, her mouth open and gulping in air. As I hold myself over her, suddenly my arms almost give way and my vision distorts, as if someone's grabbed it and pulled sideways. I let myself fall sideways onto the bed beside the panting Hanako, for fear of falling onto her instead. We both lie beside each other, naked and pressed against one another in order to fit on a bed made for a single person. My eyes try to focus on the ceiling, to not much success. Pulling in a blanket over us to stave off the cold is all I can do. Now, honestly, in these type of situations, how the frickin' hell does nobody hear them? The only sound in the room is that of our breathing. The sweat that had accumulated on my body feels uncomfortable. I mean, what if, like, someone was, like, knocked on the door? How awkward would that be? We're both physically and emotionally exhausted, and a complete mess all over. Oh? My vision slowly begins to return to normal as I continue to stare at the ceiling, but my limbs still feel like jelly. I try to concentrate on my chest and find its best irregular and mildly painful beat, This is a dangerous time. I have to think this through and not panic, lest I make my situation any worse. With a huge effort, I take control of my erratic breathing, forcing myself to make long, deep breaths. I count half a dozen before I start to feel physically calm again. I press my hand to my chest to assure myself. My heart beats back to normal. I'm okay. Ah, look how adorable. I turn my face towards Hanako, who is already looking at me. Her expression looks pretty dazed, but underneath that, there's definitely a look of concern. She's realized what happened. I'm okay, everything's back to normal. I found myself barely able to get the words out between breaths. I don't think sex will tire an old birdie. Body? Not birdie, what the fuck? Body out this much, so I have no doubt my condition's at least partially at fault. Why did my body have to do this right now? All thoughts in my heart, though, actually, I just noticed. We actually can see both her eyes. We rarely are able to see both of her eyes. So I guess in the good ending she doesn't snap at him, but I don't know, I feel like I remember that CG, but I might have been misremembering it. I probably was thinking of the CG where... actually, no. Now that one makes sense. When I originally played Katawa Shoujo, I didn't use a walkthrough, I don't think, on the first playthrough, and I got Hanako's route. I don't know, maybe I did stumble upon that. But I also remember the when she shows the scarring. That's the one I was thinking of. But that face is adorable. All thoughts of my heart, though, are pushed aside as I see the wide smile forming on Hanako's face. As always, I smile back without another thought. Hanako's smile has always been infectious in its almost childlike sweetness and earnesty, something that sets her apart from anyone else I know. Right now, we don't need words. Everything we want to communicate to each other, we can share just fine without them. Dooby-doo, ravioli cleared. At last, at last. I don't think it even freaking, like, goes to the point where it's like, okay, we'll, like, just, like, wait till Lily gets back and then, like, be like, oh, and now see how to develop a relationship. I don't think we get to see anything like that. My eyes feel heavy as they slowly open. The light from outside makes me blink a bit to let them get adjusted. My body feels like lead, and my head feels just as heavy. Waking up to an unfamiliar ceiling is an uncomfortable feeling. It reminds me of the first time I woke to the dimpled white tile ceiling of the hospital. It's only after spending a few seconds staring up at it that I realize where I am. Wait. Yeah, this is... what's this track called? Stride. Oh, no, never mind. I just remember I got back and I had my guitar in its case, so I'm not gonna be bothered to freaking take my guitar in its case, but this seems like a variation of Wasona, but it's in a different key. But anyways, it's certainly after spending a few seconds staring up at it that I realize where I am. This is Hanako's dormitory room. I feel as though my heart stopped again, as the events of last night rushed through my head. Blood rushes to my cheeks and I shut my eyes once more. There's very little point to getting myself worked up this early though, so I try to push such things out of my mind for now. I roll my head to the side to see if Hanaka's where she was when I drifted off to sleep. All that's there now is an empty space on the bed and the room beyond. I sluggishly sit up and rub my eyes, before pinching the bridge of my nose and looking around the room. The only person here is me. I'm still bereft of my clothes, and after a quick scan of the floor for them, I noticed that they're neatly folded in the corner of the room. Try as I might, I can't see Hanako's anywhere. The foil packed for the condoms are... What? Wow, I was wrong then, so they do... But... Did she... She must have been the one who freaking prepared then. Maybe if I actually paid attention to the dialogue, maybe it would have said that. Yes, like, and then he slips on the condom, because it always seems like they don't use protection ever. But I guess it is. Being removed too, presumably put into the bin. With a great yawn, I get myself out of bed and quickly look for some underwear. You know, it's just like, what about the people that clean out the bins? What would they think of that? Just like, so, which room did this one come from? Then we'll know. I grimace a little at the prospect of putting my boxes back on after yesterday's efforts did a job on them, but I don't have much choice. Taking advantage of the fact that I have some time without anyone around, I get myself dressed for the coming school day in short order. Over time, anyway. You know what? It might just be this one freaking part of the freaking... Really? Just one part? Whatever. And then I'm a loon. Without anything more to busy myself with, my mind becomes focused on the fact that I'm standing in another person's bedroom after we spent the night together, but there's not a single sign of her around. I get proved to be more helpful than my brain at working out this riddle. A loud growl, it reminds me that she may well just be getting breakfast. Would have liked to wake up next to her, but maybe it's a good thing that I have a few moments alone. Hanako's room, as always, is quite bleak in appearance. There are precious few decorations and practically no personal artifacts that aren't hidden away in cupboards and drawers. She's lived here for 3 years, but the room looks as if it's barely been occupied for a single day. I shouldn't overthink this. She might just like living this way, as some do. Having the ability to put such low stock in physical possessions does have its advantages, but even so, it feels a little disconcerting given her past. She said she viewed herself as having had her life on hold while at the orphanage. She certainly lives as if she still does, but... Bad! My voice there. After what happened last night, it's pretty hard to imagine that she still thinks that way. The sound of the door handle cracks through my thoughts, and I turn to face it. Imagine if it was someone he didn't know. He was like, what are you doing here? He's like, Sure enough, Hanako comes through and shuts the door behind her. She has what seem to be 2 microwaved instant meals in her hands, so this is a little difficult. Good morning, Hanako.
Morning.
She gives a little bow before making her way to her desk, sitting down both plates. I can now see them to be small dishes, their contents steaming with a fork stuck inside the rice of each. I give thanks to her for bringing them in, and we each take one and get down to eating. She sits on her desk chair while I sit on the side of the bed. A moment.
Right, what was that again? I'm pretty sure it's something completely different. I see. For some reason I thought, wait, why are you like saying it in Japanese there? No, it isn't.
Actually, what is it in Japanese? Plate, where are you, plate?
Plate in Japanese is Sara, whatever. You know, got all this I've like gone through this like course. It's kind of an online course, so I don't have a tutor or anything for it. But learning a bit of Japanese here and there and all that, but still, you just like, how do you apply it to sentences? You gotta really like, well, it's only the first half of the course essentially, but still, well, not even the first half. I don't know how much of the course I've even gone through, but anyways, back to the plots. I don't like talking while eating, so the sounds between us isn't annoying in and of itself. It's the fact that it only exists because we don't quite know what to say to each other that's off-putting. Hanako glances towards me every so often as she eats. I only notice her doing so because I'm doing just the same thing. Breathing together as if we were a couple. We even had sex last night. At first, for the both of us, something feels wrong though. Maybe that's why we can't say even our words to each other as we finish our plates and leave them in the sink.